What's up, everybody? I want to welcome you all to the Music Sound Influence podcast. And for today, I will be talking about the best EPs of 2022. In this podcast, I will be sharing my favorite EPs of 2022. So let's get started. So for my first EP that I'm going to be talking about today, it is going to be Jordan Rakai's EP entitled Bruises. On this EP, it has a mixture of 70s soul and R&B feel to it. On the first track, Deflection, it has a 70s feel to it with live drums and piano. And I like the synths in the background towards the end of the song, and I like the vocals on this track as well. The next song is called Bruises, which has the 70s reggae feel to it with the guitar, and I love the orchestral strings. I like the bass guitar that carries the melody and the trumpets that are in the background along with the live drums, and overall I like this song. Then we go to the next track, which is entitled Lightning, which has this pulsating bass line. I like the live drums and the synths in the background that come in and out, and I like his vocals on this song. Then we go to the last track, which is entitled The Flood, live at Medea Val, which has this acoustic live lounge feel. And I like the acoustic drums and the acoustic guitar and the percussion, and his voice on this track is the main focus. Overall, when it comes to this EP, I recommend you guys check it out. I love the lyrics, the production, and the overall feel. So I recommend you guys listen to this. The next EP that I want to be talking about is Coco Jones's EP entitled What I Didn't Tell You. I enjoyed this EP when it came to a lot of the different vocal choices throughout the EP, the vocal harmonies, the production. And on this EP, she's talking about finding love, heartbreak, and finding the right one. This EP is one of my favorites of the year. So we start off the EP with the first track entitled Headline, which has this nice bass line and glitchy synths that are in the background. I love her vocals on this song. I definitely wish that she released this as another single for the EP. Then we go to the next track, which is entitled Caliber, which reminded me of Summer Walker's No Love with the bass drums and the melody. I like the bass guitar and the acoustic guitar that's in the background. Then we go to the next track, which is entitled Crazy For Me, which has this fast tempo synths that are going in and out in the background with this subtle trap hi-hats that are in the background. Then we go to the next track, which is entitled Double Back, which samples Rain by SWV, and I love the melody of the song and how she used the sample. I love the drums and the vocals on this track, and the watery synths that are in the background. Definitely one of my favorites. Then we go to the next track, which is entitled I See You, which showcases off Coco Jones's beautiful vocals with this nice bass guitar and the piano that's in the background, and it's one of my favorites off the EP. I love the background vocals that go in and out with the melody. Then we go to the next track, which is entitled No Chaser, which has this fast tempo trap beat in the background. Definitely interpolates Genuine's Pony because I can hear the interpolation. Then we go to the last track, which is entitled Spin It, which has this trap beat in the background, and it has a bright feel to it when you listen to the track, especially when it comes to the vocals. And I really enjoyed this EP overall. I definitely recommend you guys go check it out. Then we go to the next EP, which is V Cartier's EP Frequency. I enjoyed this EP from the first track to the last track. I love the overall production on this EP. I love the vocals on this EP. We start off the EP with the track entitled Take You There, which I love his vocals, the beat, and the production on this, along with the bass line. Overall, I enjoyed this track. Then we go to the next track, which is entitled Oh Boy, which I like the live drums and the synths that are in the background, along with the bass guitar and the electric guitar. And overall, I like the vocals on this track as well. Overall, when it came to this EP, I liked a lot of the vocals and a lot of the vocal harmonies. Then we go to the next track, which is entitled Come Down, which I love the bass guitar and the trap-esque beat that's in the background with the piano melody and the vocals. Overall, I enjoyed this track. Then we go to Emotional, which I love the bass guitar that's in the background that's brought to the forefront, along with the lyrics and also the live drums and the keyboards that's on this track. Overall, one of my favorites. And then there's the last track, which is NFMU, which I like the bass guitar and the drum beat and the keys on this song. And overall, on this EP, he's talking about finding love and going through heartbreak. And I enjoyed this EP from the production when it came to a lot of the tracks and the vocals and how it was arranged. Overall, I definitely recommend you guys go listen to this EP. It's definitely one of my favorites. The next EP that I'm going to be talking about is Gabrielle B's EP entitled Unscripted. This EP I really enjoyed. I love the lyrics and the vocals and the instrumentation throughout the entire EP. It just was overall one of my favorites of the year. We first start off the EP with the track entitled For You, which has this nice keyboard, piano, and vocals. It's stripped down. Overall, I enjoyed it. Then we go to the next track, which is entitled Out of Time, which has this bass guitar, piano, live drums, and has a neo-soul feel to it. And I love the synths there towards the end of the track, and I love her vocals overall. Then we go to the next track, which is entitled Little Things. I love the acoustic guitar and acoustic feel that it has on this song, and I like her vocals and the harmonies. A lot of her vocals and harmonies on this track reminded me a lot of Janae Eiko, and I like this track overall. Then we go to the next track, which is entitled Undeniable, which I love the guitar in the background, the bass guitar. And on this track, she's talking about finding love and finding that person that makes her just, feel good inside. And I love her voice on this track and the harmonies that are in the background. Then we go to the next track, which is entitled B. I like the live drums. I love the guitar. And I like her vocals and her harmonies throughout this track. Then we go to the last track off the EP, which is entitled West Side, which I love the bass guitar and the piano there in the back. It has this kind of jazz feel to it, and I love her vocals on this song as well. Definitely, this is one of the EPs that I recommend you guys listen to. I love the lyrics, the production, and overall, it was just a good listen. The next EP that I want to be talking about is Samaya's EP entitled Remedial Education 2. On this EP, you definitely can tell that she went personal when it came to this project. On this project, the lyrics speak about optimism, perseverance, God, love loss, heartbreak, and moving forward. And I really enjoyed this EP when it came to the lyrical content, and I really enjoyed this EP overall, and I like the production choices and the vocal harmonies that are throughout this EP. So we open up the EP with the first track entitled Did It For You, which I love the piano and the breezy nature of the track with the hi-hats on the beat. And on this song, she's reflecting about growing and not staying in a relationship that's not good for her, and how she did everything for this person and she's trying to move on. And I really enjoyed this track. Then we go to the next track, which is entitled Something Better, which I love the guitar and the piano that's in the background. And on this song, she's talking about optimism and knowing that there's something better out there for her. And she's talking about learning from love and healing. This is definitely one of my favorites off the EP. Then we go to The Story, which is the next track, which I love the guitar melody that's in the background. And on this track, she's talking about love that hurt her and how this person painted her out to be the bad guy and how this relationship was not good. And she's talking about how this guy basically lied on her and she knows the real truth. And I really enjoyed this track as well. Definitely one of my favorites off this EP. Then we go to the next track, which is entitled Lonely Roads, which I love the piano melody on this track. And on this track, she's talking about not giving up and keep going and trying again, and I really enjoyed this track. Then we go to the next track, which is called Do Not Disturb, in parentheses D&D, which I love the piano, guitar, and the percussion that's in the background. And on this track, she's talking about not picking up the phone no more and not allowing negative things to get her and to not worry. And I really enjoyed this track. Then we go to the next track, which is an interlude entitled Learner's Interlude. I love the background vocals and the piano. And on this track, she's talking about personal growth, learning, and being a better person. And then we end the EP off with the track entitled Better Than Ever, which I love the synth keys that are in the background and the solo trap beat that's in the background. And in this song, she's talking about being better than she ever was, staying focused and not worrying. And overall, I like the lyrics on this EP. I love the production choices and the vocal harmonies that are throughout this entire EP. And I definitely recommend you guys go listen to this EP. It's definitely one of my favorite EPs when it came to the lyrical content and the production and the vocal harmonies and the vocal choices. Definitely recommend you guys go check out her music. Then we go to the next EP, which is from Ego Ella May's EP entitled Field Notes Part 2. I enjoyed this EP from the first track to the last track. The production on this EP, I really enjoyed. I love the lyrics and the different vocal melodies that she chose with the vocal layering and the harmonies. And overall, I enjoyed this EP. And I like the lyrics that's on this EP, which were, again, talking about love. The EP opens up with Beautiful Days, which has these nice trumpets that are in the background, along with the live drums, the bass guitar, and the keys, and the vocal harmonies that I really enjoyed, along with the lyrics on this track as well. And just overall, I love the neo soul feel to this track. Then we go to the next track, which is entitled Introvert Hotline, which I love the live drums and the electric guitar and the bass guitar that's on this song, along with the vocal harmonies on this track. When you hear this track, it sounds very peaceful. That's the best way to describe it. I just really enjoyed this track overall. Then we go to the next track, which is entitled Centered, which I love the live drums, the bass guitar, the keys in the background, and the vocal harmonies. It has a 70s feel to it. It's definitely one of my favorites. Then we go to the next track, which is entitled Why. On the track Why, I love the laid back feel of it with the drums that have drum brushes you can hear in the background, and the electric guitar and the live drums. Overall, one of my favorites. Then we go to the last track, which in my opinion, I feel is like one of the centerpieces of the EP, which is the track entitled For the Both of Us, which I love the bass guitar, the vocal harmonies, the violin, the flute in the background. It has this orchestral feel to it, and I love the vocals that she had when it came to the vocal harmonies. And overall, this is definitely one of my favorites of the year when it comes to this particular song because of the feel of it. And I just love this track overall. It's one of my favorites. This EP had a lot of favorites for me when it came to a lot of the songs, and also when it came to a lot of the lyrical content. Just overall, I definitely recommend you guys go listen to this. This is definitely one of my favorite EPs of the year. So then we go to the next EP, which is from Genevieve, and it's entitled Rendezvous. I love this EP from the first track to the last track. I love the vocals, the production, and lyrics on this EP, which again are talking about love and relationships. And the EP opens up with the title track Rendezvous, which I love the keys, the bass line, and the drum machine and the synths that are in the background. This track had me dancing. I love the beat that's shifting, and it has this 80s feel to it. And I also like the subtle siren sounds that are in the background. Definitely one of my favorites. I also like her vocals on this track as well. Then we go to the next track, which is entitled Love Quotes, which has this nice deep bass line that's in the background and the guitar that comes in and out. And I like her vocals on this track as well. And I love the hi-hats that are in the background when it comes to the drum beat, and it's just one of my favorites. Then we have the next track, which is entitled MDMA, which has this wiry synth that's in the background, this bass that's in the background as well with the trap beat. And I like her vocals on this track as well. Overall, I really like this track. Then we go to the next track, which is entitled Candy Lies, which has this nice 80s synth keys that are in the background with the guitar, and has these zap noises that, along with other background noises that come in and out, and this nice drum beat that's in the background. And overall, I really enjoyed this track. It's definitely one of my favorites, and I also love her vocals that are on this track. Then we go to the next track, which is entitled Two in Love featuring Benzie Boy. It has a club feel to it with the beat and the percussion and the synths. And overall, I just like this track as well. And I also like the keys that are in the background. This is definitely one of my favorite tracks off the EP as well. Then we have the last track off the EP, which is entitled Deep in the Shallow End, which I love the synths and the unorthodox moving bass line that's in the background. And overall, I definitely recommend you guys go listen to this EP. It's definitely one of my favorites of the year. I love the production, the lyrics, and vocals, and how she layers the vocal harmonies. So I definitely recommend you guys go listen to this EP. Then we go to the next EP, which is from Space Ghost, and the EP is entitled Heaven Sent. I enjoyed this EP from the first track to the last track. This is definitely one of my favorite EPs of the year. Production, when it came to this, Space Ghost really did his thing. He really captured the 80s sound of 80s R&B and New Jack Swing when it came to this EP, and it was done very well. Like, it literally sounds like it was made straight from the 80s, but it was made in 2022. The EP opens up with the first track, which is entitled Heaven Sent, and I love Teddy Bryant's vocals throughout this entire EP. He's featured on all these tracks. I think Teddy Bryant did an incredible job singing on these songs, and I love the production when it came to this song. I love the synths, the bass line that come through, and the 80s feel of it overall. It's just an incredible track. I really enjoyed this track. Then we go to the next track, which is entitled A Little Bit of Love, which it has this 80s New Jack Swing style with it, with the heavy drums and the synths and the keys that are in the background. Overall, I enjoyed this track. Then we go to the last track, which is entitled Read Your Mind, which I love the drum beat, the cowbell, the 80s keys in the background, and Teddy Bryant's vocals. All these tracks were my favorites. This is definitely one of my favorite EPs. I really enjoyed this EP. And on this EP, it's talking about love and finding that one. And overall, I really enjoyed this EP. And I love the production that Space Ghost gave when it came to all these songs. I love the vocals that are by Teddy Bryant. I definitely recommend you guys go listen to this EP. The next EP that I'm going to be talking about is Joyce Rice's EP entitled Motive. I really enjoyed this EP. Definitely one of my favorites of the year. I love the vocals, the vocal harmonies in the background, and the production choices throughout this entire EP. So the first track off the EP is entitled Iced Tea with Kaytranada, and I really enjoyed this track. Kaytranada really did his thing when it came to the production. I love the drums and the synths on this song, and I hope to one day work with him because I really love his production. Then we go to the next track, which is entitled Spent which has these nice drums and synths that are hidden in the background, and the saxophone that's subtly in the background. I definitely can hear it. It's definitely one of my favorite parts of the song. Then we go to the next track, which is entitled Looking For You, which has this deep bass line and club feel drums to it. And I love her vocals on this track as well. Definitely one of my favorites. Then we go to the next track, which is entitled Bittersweet Goodbyes, which has this nice bass line and live drums. And I love her vocals on this track as well. Then we go to the last track, which is entitled Pace Yourself, which sounds like it's straight out of the 2000s. And I love Kitchenaar's production on this song. I love the club drums and the percussion and the bass that's in the background, and overall one of my favorite tracks off this EP as well. And throughout this EP, I really enjoyed her vocals and the harmonies that are in the background. I love the production, and overall this is definitely one of my favorite EPs of the year. And Joyce Rice is definitely one of my favorite new artists that is out now, and I definitely recommend you guys go listen to her debut album, which made my best albums of 2021 list, and I definitely recommend you guys go listen to this EP. The final EP that I'm going to be talking about is the group Flow's EP entitled The Lead. I really enjoyed this EP from the first track down to the last track. I discovered Flow one day when I was on Twitter and somebody was sharing their song Cardboard Box, and I was instantly hooked. I love the production and the vocals throughout this entire EP. And on this EP, you clearly can hear who the influences are: Aaliyah, Brandy, Timbaland, Kevin, Shakespeare Briggs, and Missy Elliott. And on this EP, they incorporate 90s and 2000s R&B and UK R&B. We open up the EP with the first track entitled Cardboard Box, which sounds like a mix of 2000s R&B with a modern twist. I love the guitar in the background and the drums and the bass line. I love the vocal arrangements and the catchy chorus, and the whistle note towards the end of the song was amazing. Definitely one of my favorite songs of the year, and definitely one of my favorites off this EP. Then we go to the next track, which is entitled Immature, which sounds like a mixture of UK garage and R&B from the 2000s. The baby sound that's in this track, it reminded me of Aaliyah's Are You That Somebody when Timbaland incorporated that in the track. The vocal arrangements remind me of Brandy, and the acapella moment that's at the end of the track was amazing. Then we go to the next track, which is entitled Not My Job, which reminded me of 2000s UK R&B with the drums and the sounds in the background, and I love the vocals throughout this entire track. Then we go to the next track, which is entitled Summertime, which has this nice thick bass line and summer feel to it with the guitar. I love the drums and the synths in the background, and I love the little run that's at the very end by one of the singers in the group, and it has a 2000s feel to it. Definitely one of my favorites. Then we go to the next track, which is entitled Feature Me, which reminded me of Aaliyah with this Timbaland-esque sound with the stuttering drums and the bass line. And it also reminded me of Shakespeare, the producer, when it came to the track Bills, Bills, Bills by Destiny's Child with the pizzicato violin and the drums in the background. It also reminded me of Total's Trippin'. And I love the whistle note that's at the end. I love the bridge on this track. It's definitely one of my favorite tracks of the year, and definitely one of my favorite tracks off this EP. Then we have the last track of the EP entitled Another Guy, which has this nice acoustic sound to it, where you just hear how tight the vocal harmonies are when it comes to this group and how talented they are. Like, I really enjoyed this track, and I love the guitar that's in this track. And overall, I recommend you guys go listen to this EP. It's one of my favorite EPs of the year, and I cannot wait to hear their debut album that's coming in the near future. And they're definitely going to be going places. I would love to work with all these people that I mentioned on this list. And that is it for my list of best EPs of 2022. Let me guys know what were your thoughts on this list. Let me guys know what were your favorite EPs out of this list. Let me guys know what were some more favorite EPs that I maybe could incorporate on this list. And until then, I will see you all in the next podcast. Take care.